Hey folks, how's it going? It's Jason here again. It's been a while since I've uploaded the last video. Good lord, probably, what, 4 months or so? I don't know, it may be longer. I haven't checked in a while. Um, I've been, man, life has changed a lot over the last, like, year. Just by itself over the last year. Um, just to kind of catch everybody up, for any of you who are curious, uh, life started moving in a fast pace pretty heavily back in September of last year. Um, So things have been falling into place in my personal and professional life a lot more, and um, I just been riding that wave, so to speak. But I went to, I have this thing where like I tend to find a location where I like will go and sit and think, um, and that location changes from time to time. But one of the staples over the years has been um, going to the hookah lounge. I think I've mentioned it in a past video, maybe once or twice. I actually stopped going to the hookah lounge for probably most of this year, and instead just sitting at home smoking. But I started going back. I went back yesterday and was sitting there thinking through, excuse me, I was sitting there thinking through some of the different parts of my life and how I've grown over the years. And one of the things that really struck me that I thought would be a good topic for today is um, how you move throughout the world when you're out in it, so to speak. Lately, I mean, as you can see, I'm much more dressed up this time. I mean, good Lord, I've done videos before in literally just a workout shirt, which, not a great look, but, that's what it is, so it's all good. But I started getting dressed up a lot more and going out and actually like looking better to feel better, and it works. It definitely works. I for any of you that are like going through struggles, um, it's gonna be weird, but I highly recommend for guys, get dressed up. It doesn't have to be a full suit jacket. If you don't have one, it's not a big deal. But put on a dress shirt, maybe a tie, maybe a hat, something like that. Just dress up more than you normally would. And even if you're working from home, like I'll sit right here when I'm doing work throughout the day in a suit jacket and dress clothes. I'm much more locked in. I'm in a much better like headspace. Like things just like I feel better, so therefore I experience life better, right? Because realistically, like in our lives, we like how we feel impacts the perception of the world around us and how the world like integrates with us. Um, but I was sitting there at the hookah lounge and I was thinking back, and one of the topics that came up, because you generally when I do it, I sit down and I ask myself, hey, what are some things I want to work on? What are some things that I do that I don't want to be doing or I shouldn't be doing, or what are some things that I want to start doing more of? And the first thoughts that popped into my head, I sit there and I just let my brain tell me. Um, but the first thoughts that popped into my head was when I'm out in public, I want to smile more. For a lot of years, I didn't do that. I was just throughout like out walking around, and there was like no emotion on my face, or I'd be grumpy. Which, if you're grumpy or you're not really showing emotion, you're going to get a very different experience versus if you're upbeat and like open, I guess is a good way to put that. So I've been thinking about it. I'm like, I really want to get out there and smile more. It'll probably feel forced, like up front, but that's okay. You adjust and you'll get used to it. And then the other thing I was thinking of is like I don't give compliments to people nearly enough. Like if I'm close to you or if you're family or whatever, um, I give compliments decently often. But just to random strangers, I don't really. That was the first thought that came through. And I was like, well, wait a minute, is that true? So I started actually sitting there and dissecting it a little bit. And what I found is I don't really give compliments to attractive women. Like I'll give compliments to guys. As guys, I mean, we tend to do this. Like I'll give like head nods or something like that to just like, hey, what's up? Things of that nature. If somebody's got like a nice beard or if they're dressed up, I'll give them a compliment on it. But when it comes to like women in general, even especially attractive women, I generally don't, especially if I don't know them. And I was thinking about it more, right? Because as you start peeling back the onion, you start asking yourself, like, okay, well, why is that? Um, a lot of it comes back to when I was, good lord, I was probably 19. I was working at a Big Five Sporting Goods, selling shoes. Funnily enough, it was a lot of fun. The good people generally, but there was an event that happened when I was there that like has stuck with me for a very long time. And for the other person in the event, it was probably a very small thing and just fleeting. But for me, it impacted my outlook on how I communicated with people out in the world substantially. So when I was working at Big Five, one day we had an assistant manager in training who was a very beautiful woman. And one day a couple of guys came in and they were really laying it on thick. Like she was clearly uncomfortable, not like, and they were like, once she rejected them, they started getting pretty um, insulting, I guess would be probably a simple way to put that. It was a little bit more than just like sly comments or anything like that, but they were going in pretty hard. After they eventually left, I had walked up because I had seen most of it. I had walked up to her and I'm like, hey, don't listen to those guys. You know, I think you look really beautiful today. Something to that effect. It was really beautiful or really nice. I think it was really nice is how I phrased it. Keep in mind that was, good Lord, how many years ago was that? If I was 19, that'd be 17 years ago. Um, so it's been a while. But I was sitting there and I didn't think anything of it. To me, it was just a passing comment. You know, I was trying to like help her feel a little bit better and try to move her through that event a little bit was generally my thought process on it. Well, I came into work the next day and the assistant store manager pulled me into the office and was like, hey, just so you know, we're going to have to put you on probation. Apparently what had happened is she had gone to HR and basically told them that I had sexually harassed her in the office space by giving her a compliment, mind you, right? Like I wasn't creepy with it. I was just, here's a compliment. And the assistant manager that I was talking, or the assistant store manager that I was talking to, keep in mind, I was genuinely confused, right? Like to me, this was nothing. I was like, what the heck? Um, he had said that initially they had just wanted to fire me. And the response that he had given was he went to bat for me, thank God. And he was like, hey, this guy's a really strong worker. He's been with us for about a year and a half. Like, he knows pretty much everything from most of the different areas of the store. He's super helpful, like loves helping customers. Like, firing him would be a mistake. So he really went to bat for me, and that was the only reason I kept my job. I still remember that conversation pretty vividly, which just shows you like how seemingly simple things can really get out of hand pretty quick. But after that event, right, like I took that as, okay, any woman that, what's the word I'm like, what's the phrasing here? Any woman that I give a compliment to could potentially ruin my career. Okay, so I took it for, in that moment, what it was. You know, I gave a very harmless compliment to somebody who's in a pretty bad situation and had just gotten, like, verbally accosted, essentially. And to me, that was the gentlemanly, nice thing to do, right? Um, and looking back, I can honestly, objectively say there was nothing creepy about that moment at all. Like, it was just a passing, like, hey, I think you look nice. You know, don't listen to them, they're jerks. Um, but it got blown way out of proportion, and I genuinely took that I took it to heart, and I just stopped. Like, after that moment, if I didn't know you and we weren't close, I didn't compliment you for a damn thing. Like, I still compliment guys because I'm not, like, I hadn't had that experience with guys. I had that experience with a very attractive, well, looking back, not as attractive as I remember her being from at the time, but for the time, she was pretty attractive. So I was like, okay, never compliment attractive women that you don't know in public again, right? Because this could have dramatic, long-lasting implications, right? My thinking essentially on it being, yeah, she may not know where I work, but if she figures out who I am, she could call my employer and get me fired. So I was like, it's not worth the risk, and I operated on that line of thinking for a lot of years. And so as I was peeling all this back, I was like, okay, well, today, with the experience and the knowledge I have today, is that a realistic concern? And the answer is yes. I mean, obviously that's a realistic concern. But the follow-on question is what's the likelihood of that happening? And I can honestly say I don't know. And I hate that I actually have to give that answer because I genuinely don't know. My estimation is if someone's having a bad day, even just a general compliment could, they could latch onto that and lash out. That's just generally how I see it. But then the immediate next thought I had was, okay, well, do I care? Is this enough of a concern for me to stop doing something that I enjoy doing? Because I genuinely enjoy giving people compliments. And if I had asked myself this question probably 5 years ago, the answer would have been, or heck, even probably 3 years ago, the answer would have been absolutely not. It's not worth the risk. But with where I'm at now, I don't care enough anymore to stop. So I was sitting there, and as I was smoking and just hanging out, and then on the entire ride back on my bike, I was like, what am I going to do about this? So I sat there and I was thinking about it. I'm like, I'm already going to work on smiling more. I'm definitely much better at it now than I was even just 6 months ago, let alone a year ago. But the compliments thing is going to be, smiling is a very internal thing, right? But giving compliments there's an externality component to that. So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to shift the way so what I'm going to start working on is I'm going to start working on shifting the way that I view those interactions with people. Essentially, I'm going to come at it from the perspective of, hey, I don't care if you're bothered by me giving you a compliment. If I think you're dressed well, I'm going to give you a compliment on it. If I think you're beautiful, I'm going to tell you, not in a hey, how's it going? I think you're hot. I want to take you back home. Not going that far by any stretch. But just the general compliments of hey, you look nice today. Just wanted to let you know. Not even trying to get numbers or anything like that. Just passing compliments out in the world. And I recognized pretty quick that that's going to be awkward for the first couple of times, but it will get easier. And I just need to remember a couple of things. I need to remember, one, that it will be awkward. And two, that, hey, I'm doing this for me so that I can better be who I am versus doing it for someone else or being impacted by their reactions. There are still going to be locations where I likely won't. The gym is one. I probably won't do that at least for a while. But when it comes to just out, if I'm at a coffee shop or something, or I'm out walking my dog, or out shopping, whatever, I'm going to take it upon myself to get out there more. And I know, I've been around the internet long enough to know that there's a decent group of guys, especially, that are very, very concerned with this. I've seen careers ruined. I've seen guys get put into jail for it. Heck, a guy that I knew in Texas when I worked down there in Houston, he was in the middle of a legal battle over a sexual assault claim. And I actually looked up the court case, and essentially the allegation was that he basically gave her a compliment, she took it creepy, and was filing charges against him for it because it made her supremely uncomfortable or something to that effect. I was like, this is wild, right? So I know these things happen. It came out later that because obviously not all evidence is public, but it came out later that like they had hooked up and she had claimed that it was non-consensual, but between like text messages and things like that, that was eventually proven false. But I saw what it did to him, right? Like, and as a guy, like these are real concerns, you know. So for anybody who's sitting here thinking, oh yeah, this is just, you know, this is just guy talk, this isn't something that really happens. No, I've actually seen it, and to an extent I've experienced some of it. So when like if you have friends that are going through it, be there for them, you know. Don't just assume that every claim that's made is actually valid. But for the guys that are actually, like, maybe you're a little bit socially awkward, maybe you're um, a little bit afraid, take it slow. You know, understand that you can't control how people react to a compliment that you give them or a smile or whatever. That reaction is not about you. That reaction is entirely about them. Now, I will caveat that, and it's dumb that I have to caveat this, but I will. Like, if you come up, like, if you are genuinely creepy about it, okay, that's on you, right? Figure that out. Don't do that. But you know, if you're just like going throughout your day and you just like offhandedly making a statement, and like there's not really a genuinely creepy aspect, right? Because creepiness is, sadly these days, it's not so black and white as what it used to be. Um, but you know, if you're just being a human being and being like nice about it, you know, do it. And then if they have a negative reaction, just leave. It's not worth it's not worth ruining your own headspace over how someone reacts to a compliment or to a smile or something that small. So know it will get easier over time. Know that you will feel better, especially if you're like me and like you actually enjoy giving compliments. Like that for me, that's a big one just because of the history there. But if you're not doing something that you as a person genuinely enjoy doing because you're concerned with someone else's, like how someone else would react to it, as long as what you're doing isn't like pretty messed up, understand that their reaction is on them. You know, like you don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know if they're like, hey, maybe they're just having a shit day and they need somebody to take it out on. First off, I'll tell you, you don't have to be the person that they take it out on. You can just walk away. You know, now if they lay hands on you, that's a different thing. Maybe that's a topic for a very, very, very much later day discussion. But actually, I probably won't even get into that. It's not really worth it. But like, it's better to be who you are and who you want to be. Like, if you want to be the person that like is out in public and is willing to and is like down to talk to people, open to people like just approaching you to say hello, you know, giving compliments, just do it. Um, and if you get negative experiences from it, understand that like have enough introspective capability to know whether or not it's genuinely you, right? Because there are cases where yeah, okay, maybe it's genuinely you, right? Maybe you just suck. I don't know. Like, I'm just saying. I don't estimate that that's the case, um, but as long as you can look at it and go, okay, objectively, this interaction wasn't anything, right? It wasn't a negative interaction. They just reacted negatively. That's entirely on them. That doesn't reflect on you. You're fine. So set it aside. Go, you know what? I mean, it could be as simple as they had a bad day, or heck, maybe they're just a bitch, you know, like, or an asshole. Again, not a reflection on you. So my overall advice for it is if you want to be, if you want to do something because you enjoy doing it um, or it's a part of who you are that you want to start expressing, do it. Let the chips fall where they will. You know, at the end of the day, the way I genuinely look at it is in 5 years, and I actually ask myself this pretty frequently, and the time frame varies, but in 5 years, if I were to look back on what I'm doing in this event or in this experience, am I going to sit there and say, that was hella whack, you shouldn't have done that? And if I can sit here today and go, you know what? No, I'm good with this. I'm not worried about it anymore. Because I know it doesn't matter. And in a couple of days, heck, in the last time I did it, and I had somebody like pop up about it and just like be grumpy. What I noticed was in like 45 minutes, I didn't care because it's just like, hey, that's on them. You know, I just gave them a compliment. Screw them. If they don't like it, that's their problem. Now, next time you see them, avoid them. And hey, you save yourself some trouble because now you know. So I think that's about where I'm going to end it today. If you guys have any questions or comments on this, I know it's at least for me, it's an interesting and fun topic. And from what I've seen, it can get people a little bit spicy. But if you guys have any comments or anything like that, feel free to drop some comments below, and I'll see them, I'll respond to them. So have a good night.